There we are. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm going to go ahead and pin this to the top of one of my groups. I have this streaming into three different places today, Julia, or two different places today. We are live in YouTube and we are live in the Intuitive Daughters of God Facebook group. So hello to those of you who are popping on, getting ready to pop on. Where am I? We're in here. I know we're live in here. Facebook just doesn't want to tell me. There we are. There we are. All right. We are live and we have people popping on. So good, good, good. All right. So today I am live here with Julia Winston. And I know a lot of the people know you or know of you or have joined a challenge or have gone through a training. And I will say, like, just our event in the group, we had more people who were like, going. And everybody's really excited to have you. So yay. And I'm super excited too. So Julia, I had actually, just to let everybody know how we know one another, I had been keeping up with Julia from 100X. For anybody who's in 100X, you know Julia from there. She runs the prayer team and is involved in other ways. And I had jumped on one of your challenges, like one of the prayer ones, one of the early prayer ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And even before that, I watched the first live I watched it, like after I came in from the 414 challenge, you did a live and I was like, I want to be friends with her. And here, like a year and a half later, my dreams came true, Julia. So yes, so welcome. Okay, I'm gonna actually introduce you here properly. So Julia M. Winston is the founder and chief alignment officer at Brave Leadership Consulting. Brave is a prophetic business consulting firm specializing in helping elite business owners create their income and impact and deepen their relationship with God as they advance His kingdom through business. Julia has done leadership development and coaching work for individuals and organizations such as GE, Chick-fil-A, the City of Oxford, American Association of University Women, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Fisk University, and Baptist Hospital, Memphis. Julia is a former member of Forbes Coaches Council. That sounds super cool. She holds 2 coaching certifications from the World Coaching Institute. She also has a master's degree in human resource development from Xavier University. She is an award-winning speaker and trainer, and she has written for online journals such as Forbes and has been quoted in many others. And we quote her all the time in IDG. You've arrived, Julia. For over a decade, Julia has been giving leaders the communication, leadership, and confidence tools to dominate their earthly and heavenly assignments with grit, grace, and gravitas. So, packaging that, one of the things that April likes to say about you is that you specialize in marrying the natural and the supernatural, that you marry the spiritual and the earthly realms in business. Yeah. So
yes.
Yay.
Yay. So I'm just waiting for a moment to interject. So number one, I just want to honor you, Annette, and say hi to everyone who is watching, wherever you're watching from, on YouTube or inside Intuitive Daughters. Hey, party people. Good to see you. Good to be here. And Annette, you know, I love you. And I am so excited for what you are doing and how you are doing it, because your voice is needed as you are standing in the place of your assignment and calling forth what God has in you. And then deep is calling to deep. And so the people who are following you are you are necessary to them. So hello to you. Hey, Valerie. Hey, Queens. I see the people coming in. So yes, and I'm so super excited about being here. Just to talk about this topic, right? And marrying that practical and spiritual together. It has been an honor for us to grow, for me to grow as your friend, even though we no matter how we were introduced, right? It's just been that honor for us to grow in relationships together. So I appreciate you. You're awesome. And I'm excited to be here. Let's get it.
Yes, let's do it. I love it. I love bring all the Julia all the time. So
you asked for it, so here she is.
I did ask for it. I did. I love your muchness. I love that about you. Your muchness. Show up with all the muchness. So I saw a post by you, and I actually posted it in this group. I shared it, where you were really breaking it down. What some of the myths and truths are when it comes to our theme right now is birthing your promise. You are actually the final interview in the Birthing Your Promise interview series, and we're closing it out right. Yes, and we entitled this one "Prep for Launch."
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And so I want to talk about, I want to give you the floor, because I want to hear what you have to say about the preparation process and what that looks like. And you know a thing or two about launching a thing or two.
Yeah. I do. And I also know a thing or two about aiding others in preparing for what God has to you. So my first has for you. So my first disclaimer is this: I need you to stop watching right now if you just think, if I can't be real, number one, like if you're like, hey, this is lovely, but I don't need this, I'm going to need you to stop watching, because some of the things I'm about to say is really going to go against some of the things that we have been caught. And I don't say taught when it comes to our spirituality, when it comes to our walk with God. It's like, listen, if you think that it's going to be all rainbows and sunshine, you might want to log off right now, because it's not going to be helpful for you. If you stay, however, I'm going to share with you how in all of that, you can see God's process in you. So that's just my disclaimer. This does not mean I believe 100% in that scripture that says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Right? So it means that there's going to be as you are doing work, there's going to be a lightness as you go with God. So if you're like, I don't want to go with God, I don't want to do it, I just want to go and grind it out myself, you're probably not in the next community first place, but it's like, you're probably not in the next community. But if that's that attitude, then I'm just going to say this might be disappointing for you. But if you are ready to be like, I am tired of online people lying to me, I am tired of everyone making it seems as though these are the 7 steps, the 5 steps, the 12 steps to perfection, and as long as I follow the steps, I'm good. I'm tired of people lying to me about that, because that's not been my experience. If that's you, then what we're going to share is going to be very valuable for you. Okay. All right. So that's kind of like my disclaimer, because I like to, just because I'm like, in my years, right, in my background of developing leaders, there is no cookie cutter model. There is no one size fits all. Right? There is no one size fits all. And so what happens though is when we believe that it's going to be a turnkey system, there are 5 steps. If you do step 1, then step 2, and then step 3, and then you are on your way to success. All you have to do is go back to the steps and make sure you are following them and make sure you're executing perfectly and all those things, and you'll have success. If you have realized, like, excuse me, that's not true. That's not true. Because what happens is, as you go, you realize that isn't true, and you turn inward and go, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Yes.
Well, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe I'm there's something wrong with me where I can't get it. Why can't I get this idea? Why can't I get sales? Why can I get, online marketing? Why can I get this tech stuff? Well, what's going on with me?
Yes.
So I'm broken.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm tired of that.
Yes.
And so this is why I say the things I do. I say the way I say it, because there are too many people who fall outside of the 5 steps. Now, don't get me wrong. For some people, those steps work, but they don't work because of the steps. They work because of the process that they have already been on, that now their process has met a tool and now they're ready to accelerate. So
yes. Can I just say one quick thing that a lot of times people see somebody and they're like, this person just rose to the top out of nowhere. And what they don't know is that there are 1 to 3 decades behind them of going through process, a lot of which is just one failure that they learn from after another, especially if they haven't been led through the process, right? Yeah. And then we're like, oh, they're an overnight success. No, they are not an overnight success.
Yes, most overnight successes take about 15 years.
Yes.
At a minimum. Now, don't get to, learning about people like Colonel Sanders from KFC who, went bankrupt, and he didn't get successful until he was in his 60s, right? So I'm just saying. So process. So let's talk about that. Is that all right?
Oh, let's talk process. It's such a sexy word, Julia. Process.
I know. So I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and I just love him. And he and his wife, Matt and Des Gonzalez, they have a podcast. Yeah. They're awesome. Anyway, so I was having a conversation with Matt, and I said, and he and I were talking about this concept. And here's the concept. It says, in the spiritual world, right, especially in the church world, we have learned to appreciate testimony culture. What is testimony culture? Testimony culture is just that, right? That you were going through something and then God showed up and there was a miracle. There was something happened. He came through. The thing that you wanted happened and all of that. And so now everybody can yay and hallelujah and just like look at God and just be in awe. Hear me. Now, I grew up in the Black church, okay? So it was a thing that we used to have testimony service in my church when we were growing up, where people would get the mic and say, this is what the Lord did, right? And so and it almost became, I'm just saying their hearts were great, but it almost became like testimony service was this opportunity to see who can one up somebody else, who can make the church shout, right? With the awesomeness that God did. Right. So and so with a appreciation for testimony culture, like, I was down and out, but then I met Jesus and then I had a vision and he delivered me from all these things. And now I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And they're like, woohoo, right? That is wonderful. And God loves testimony. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. Testimony culture is fantastic because testimony culture says victory is possible. Listen, I'm just going to pause right there for a minute and say, y'all, victory is possible. The thing that you are working for, it is possible for you to obtain. It is possible for you to write that book, start that business, make that $1 million, your first $1 million in sales, close that first deal. It is possible for you to lose that weight, raise those children the way that you are putting in your heart to do. It is possible. And we need testimonies of people who have done it so we can see it is possible. And that's the beauty of testimony culture. Yeah. So having said that, and because the kingdom is always an and, right? It's multiplication, not just the subtraction or division, right? Yes. And what we have come to now is like, we have to have an appreciation for process culture. Because testimony culture says victory is possible. Process culture says this is how victory was obtained. Yes. Process culture says this is how victory was obtained. I am sharing the process that God went through. So the promise was, hey, there's a land flowing with milk and honey. The process was, okay, Joshua, here's what we're going to do. We need everybody to, you need to group these people around here. You need to give the musicians charge. Then you need to go walk around the city, but you need to march, walk around the city and then shout, because the testimony culture says victory is possible. Jericho is yours. That's testimony culture. You can do this. Jericho is yours, and the walls will come crashing down. But the process culture says, now this is how we're going to obtain victory. And this is how you are going to be a part of your victorious, be a part of the victory that you're having.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Why is it important for you to understand the process, for you to be in that? Because some of you are called to teach other people how to be victorious. And you can't teach miracles. If a miracle just appeared, you can't teach. Like it was a miracle how Mary was how she was knocked up. I hate to say it that way. I'm sorry, that sounds so crass. But it was a miracle how Christ was conceived. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. But she can't go, and it's not designed to. She can't go and say, "Hey, y'all, let me teach you how to have an immaculate conception."
Yeah.
Because it was a miracle. It was something that God said, this is how I'm going to do this. It's a miracle, and it's not designed. It's designed to be a sign and a wonder. It's not designed to be a roadmap and a model. And so testimony culture says, hey, this is possible. Process culture says, this is what you need to go through so that you can understand why. You can understand why so that you can lead other people. You can understand why so that you can lead yourself. You can understand why so that you can build legacy. So that you can build legacy that other people can follow. For those of you who are called to make maps, I know who I'm called to, right? I'm called to pioneers, trailblazers. Those of you who are called, God is like, hey, let's make a map. And you're like, I don't even know what the map is. There is no map for how to make this map, God. What are you doing? Right?
Yes.
And you're like,
map.
right? And you're like, what is this? No one else is doing this. And he's like, good, let's do this together. And you're like, well, who can I turn to? He's like, you turn to me. He's like, yeah, I know I can turn to you, but who else can I turn to? Like, who else has this blueprint on what we're doing? And for those of you who are called to be pioneers, for those of you who are called to be trailblazers, for those of you who are called to create the maps that others will follow, you have to understand that what you go through is part of your map creating process. So process isn't a sexy word, but it's so, I actually think it is, because I've lived in this point of process forever. This is where you kind of combine those spiritual things. So so anyway, so I just wanted to frame it this way, because we have to have an appreciation for both. When you are in your times of what in the world is going on and I am lost, you look to a testimony to be like, okay, it's possible, it's possible, it's possible. And then you have to also find those people who are like, now, who understands process, who understands how God is processing you and the process that I need to go through, because your process is different. So in that post that you were referring to, right? It's like, let's talk about some of the myths and truths. So myth number one, you're called to it. You didn't had the dream. You had the 5 prophetic words. It was confirmed over and over again, right? You know you're called to it, and you're like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, God, I am in it. Okay. But just because you're called to it doesn't mean you don't have to prepare for it. Just because you're called to it doesn't mean you don't have to prepare for it. Right. So David was anointed king long before he actually became king, because there was a preparation process. Right. Esther was called to be, in the harem, it happens that way, right? But there was a year-long preparation process before she actually got there. In Daniel, it talks about how the Hebrew boys, right? They were learned. They had to learn the way of the Chaldeans and whatnot, and the way of their captors. They had to learn that thing. And so before they actually was presented to the king, they went through years of preparation and process. But just because you're called to it, doesn't mean you don't have to prepare for it. So what does that mean for you? If you have to write a book, then that means that you might have to brush up on your book writing skills, right? You might have to brush up on your grammar. If you are called to speak, you might have to go to a Toastmasters and start, processing that. If you are called to, start a business, you're going to have to research some of the things, what type of business, what type of entity you're going to start. Just because you're called to it doesn't mean you don't have to prepare. If you are a coach, getting your certifications. I believe, like, what's your craft? Understand and learn your craft. So that's one. You're called to it. And so you need to prepare. So I'm going to
understand. And understand and learn your craft. I really think that that's important. I want to contrast that a little bit with, this is a time in our society, and also just in what the Lord is doing on his timeline, where you don't necessarily have to have a specific piece of paper that calls you qualified. And yet that doesn't, also knowing that and even accepting and stepping into that doesn't mean that you don't have a learning and preparation process to complete what God has put on your heart, right?
Yes. Because, and that's the perfect, thank you for bringing that up, because in that scenario, you are called to it, but you're like, God, I don't have any qualifications. Mm-hmm. Your process may not be to get the qualifications. Your process to prepare may be, this is what I need to know, do, and say to overcome the objections of those who say, well, you're not qualified.
There you go.
Right? I call them power statements for some of our clients that we work with. It's like, what's your power statement? Because if you don't have, for instance, if you don't have a high school diploma, you didn't get your GED, but what's something that you're called to? And for you mentally, you're like, well, wait a minute, I never really finished that. Can I do this? This is a deeper process and all of that. Part of your preparing is, how do you stand flat-footed with people who have more letters behind their name than the alphabet, knowing that God has called you to do exactly what he's called you to do. You're supposed to be in that room. What do you say to yourself? What do you say to these people? So that this idea, I don't have the education for it, does not become a hindrance to you. Well, you need to prepare for that. All right. I call them those power statements. What are those things that you're saying? Like at the time of this recording, right? It's right around the holidays, right? So we get around people, and then all of a sudden your aunt who you haven't seen, in 2 years because of COVID, and then maybe you gained the COVID 20 and you had an extra 30 before even the 20, the COVID, and then they come to you, and they're gonna make a comment about your weight. They're gonna make a comment about your weight. They might make a comment about your marital status. They may make a comment about your kids, your parental status. They're gonna make a comment about something, right? And so in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, I know that. And so you're avoiding Aunt Vivian, you trying to get away from Uncle Joe, you doing all of these things, when what you really need to do to prepare is just prepare your power statements. So Uncle Joe's gonna talk about how big your butt got. What are you gonna say? Are you going to let his comment now degrade you? It's like, no, here's my power statement. Mm-hmm. Uncle Joe, I am 100% satisfied with my body, or, and you can make a joke about it. You can redirect that. You can do all those things. Your power statement is the thing that you say out of your mouth that makes you feel like, I'm standing here, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to be belittled by this comment anymore.
Yeah.
But you have to prepare that. You have to process. So I'm just using that as an example, right? So
it's a great one. It's a great one. I'm taking notes.
Yeah. So your preparation is not necessarily, your preparation is just based on where you are. So that's what I love. So that's number one. The other thing, right? So just because you're called to it doesn't mean you're good at it. Right? This is why we have shows like American Idol, where we all sit there and cringe at these contestants who are getting up there and dead serious. Like, I think there's a little more, production out, right? But people who are like, and you're looking like, do you really? Because your mama, your grandmother, the people who love you was like, sing, baby, you good, right? And it's like, well, actually, you're not. You're not, but you can become good, mm-hmm. right? So there's certain things, and there are varying theories that go back and forth about whether you highlight your weaknesses or your strengths and things of that nature. But just because you're good at it, and maybe it comes even natural to me, natural to you, doesn't mean that. Just because you're called to it doesn't mean you're actually good at it yet. And there can be a process of you actually preparing to get better.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be on that spot. So if you're a speaker and you're naturally engaging, but when you speak, there's too many filler words. Well, you're still called to be a speaker, but part of your preparation is going to be, how do I pause and not say ums, ahs, oohs, for what those things are. Yeah, depending on the circumstance that you're in, right? Yes. Interviews and such.
This is a great example. It's a great example because we have a lot, like, not everybody in here. Okay, so this is not a blanket statement, but a lot of us in this group are verbal processors. And so there's the one level when we start like, okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to get on a live. I'm going to talk about like what I got from this training or whatever. And we get on, we just learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera or on a live. Yeah. And then there's a different level when you shift to actually bringing value instead of simply processing. Yeah. And I think that there's even an in between where you think, oh, well, people don't actually listen to 30-minute lives anymore because there are so many videos out there. So if I want somebody to listen to me, I'm going to have to break it down to like 10 minutes or less. And then, and then just kind of that process going through that, I feel like is something that a lot of people can relate to who are watching right now.
Yes. And that's why I encourage people, especially in my communities, to go live. I'm not saying go live because you need to prove to me that you're listening. I'm saying go live because it is a preparation process for you.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that you are called to the nations, but you can't go live in a Facebook group of 40 people.
True.
This is a part of your process. And if you don't recognize that, then you will continue to dismiss the opportunities that God is presenting for you to prepare, to get you confident. Because one of my favorite scriptures is in Hebrews. It says, cast not away your confidence, for it brings great recompense of reward. I grew up KJV, so that's how I learned it, right? But there is this idea that there is a certain reward that confidence brings, that there's a certain reward that confidence pays out. And the way that you grow in your confidence is you get better, you grow your skill level, you grow your experience. That's how you get more confident. You grow your skill level and you get more experience. Now, there are people who have a lot of experience and they're bad at stuff, but they're super confident. Right? And I believe, and I've said this, confidence closes more sales than competence ever will. You could be terrible at the structure of a sales call and all of that, but you are so confident in the product. You're so passionate about the person that you're selling to. Is like, this is what it is. This is amazing. Everybody should try this. We are all evangelists when it comes to our favorite drinks, when it comes to our favorite eyeshadow, when it comes to our favorite, glasses, when it comes to our favorite, all these things. Like, we just want to tell everybody that this is awesome, right? When I first got this natural deodorant that worked for my teenage boy funk.
Yes.
I was like, hey, I was on Facebook. Hey, everybody, guess what? Referral code. It works on teenage boy underarm funk. It's natural. Go get it, right? So we're all natural convincers. So stop saying that you're not a salesperson, right? We're all natural convincers of others. And we just have to find the passion about it. And so the last thing I'll say, the last part about, just really preparing is, just because you're called to it, just because you're going to do it, don't expect that it's going to be cheap. I see this a lot. That people assume that the favor of God means discounts only. That the favor of God means that I can get a $50,000 value for $2. And if I have to pay the full $50,000, then that's not God. That's not true. Yes. Will God give you discounts? Absolutely. Right? I don't know anyone who does not like a discount. I don't know anyone who doesn't like a value or bargain. I don't know anyone who does that.
Yeah.
But as you are preparing to birth what you're called to, it is very important for you to understand, do I have this subconscious belief that if God called me to it, that it's going to be cheap? That it's not going to cost me everything. Can I tell you something? It cost Christ everything to make a way for us to have right relationship with our Father.
Yes.
To come into the kingdom and have and truly understand our identity, our destiny, and our purpose, right?
Yes.
So, and I say that it's a sobering thought because yes, like God You know, you can get somebody, oh, praise the Lord, this person came to me free and they have no experience, but they're gonna do my website. And then they do your website and you look at it and it looks like exactly what you paid for it. $0, right? There's a
Yes.
time. So it depends on, you know, again, who are you going to? What are you going after? What's your assignment? But I just want to say, like, just because God's called you to it doesn't mean that there isn't money and investment attached to it.
Yeah.
Yes, you might actually have to buy a more expensive top, more
Mm.
expensive shoes. That doesn't mean you're better or not. You know, that
Yeah.
doesn't the action behind it means nothing. But it's this idea of it's not just God just because it's cheap. It's not
Yeah.
God just because it's free. It's
Yeah.
not God, you know, will God give you free stuff? Yes. Will God give you discounts? Again, yes. But then there are times where God's saying, now I need you to bless this business by paying full price.
Yeah.
I need you to understand that your buying power is something that I've gifted you with.
Hmm.
It's not something that is actually taking away from you, but it's actually investing.
Yeah.
I need you to
Yeah.
reframe how you see money, how you see spending, right? Because
Mm.
if you only hoard, if you only
Mm.
if you're only generous when it comes to receiving and generously receiving, then there's a level of preparation for you.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of things. I mean, I could probably, you know, go on and on about you're still going to have to practice. You're still going to have to, you learn how to get along with people, right? Because we don't exist outside individually in silos. You're going to have to
So
get
true.
along with people. So guess what? God might say, yes, this is for you. And now go work with this person that you don't like. And then learn how to get along with them, right?
Yeah.
Learn how to pull those barriers down. So learn how to maximize your mental space, learn how to take care of your body. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things as you are preparing,
Yeah.
right? That your business, that your family, here's another
Yeah.
thing. Okay. Your family is not an antithesis to your business.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Say that again. Say it
Your
again.
kids are not the venom, but are not the kryptonite to you being
Yeah.
successful in your business. Your marriage is not the kryptonite to you being successful in your business. Because when God is calling you to something, there is a way. He knows you have children. He does. He knows this about you, right? And if you have this mindset that I have to put my business against my kids, then most good mamas, I'm like, I'm choosing my kids.
Yeah.
I'm choosing my kids
Yeah.
if I have to choose. But in the kingdom, you really don't, because your children and your business are part of your destiny. And so
Yeah.
there's an alignment that needs to happen when you there's just a mindset shift that needs to happen for you in order for you to be prepared. There's going to be some emotional work if you deal with rejection issues and
Mm-hmm.
now you're in a sales role and people say no and
Yeah.
you go into a tailspin after one no, and then you don't want to ever offer people the opportunity to work with you, even though you know you could change their life, you can
Yeah.
change their skin, you can change, you know, their weight, you can change, you know, whatever it is that you do, even though you know the thing that you're selling is so phenomenal and valuable to them.
Yeah.
But if you don't allow the Lord to prepare you to deal with your heart, so that when people say no, because it's mathematically people are going to say no,
Yeah.
you're just finding the people that says that will say yes.
Yeah.
You don't need, or nor do you want everyone to say no, yes to what you're doing, right? So those
Yeah.
are just some things as you're preparing to launch. Yes, tools are important.
Yeah.
And if I'll end with this one. Most people think I have to have the right tools. I have to have the right funnel software, or I have to have the right webinar software, or I have to have the right packaging, and I have to have whatever it is that you're doing. Tools are important, but you will get more results from right relationship
Hmm.
than you will with the right tools. What do I mean by that? Julia, if I have the right tools, okay. If you have a shovel, but you live in a place where it never snows, you live in a place where there is no pine needles, you know, like or leaves to gather, then the tool really isn't going to be valuable to you. You take that same tool to Alaska. You take that same tool to Chicago, right? And it's like shovels. When the snow hits, shovels can go $30, $40, $50 if they are in low supply.
That's
Why?
true.
Because the tool is only as valuable as the assignment it has for it and the recognition of how to use it from the person purchasing.
Yes.
You need to have the right relationship. Right relationships produce right results. Your relationship with God, your relationship with you, your relationship with money, your relationship with your business, your relationship with your tools, right? Those are going to produce right results.
Your relationship with organization, getting organized. That was my whole summer. I thought I was going to be writing a book, and God's like, actually, you are going to be getting organized. And you're going to start using a calendar consistently. You're going to, and it was just like getting your finances in order, and I was just like, man, but those are foundational things that we can't skip over. So part of the process is God graciously leading us through those areas that are weak, because you don't want to have weak parts of your foundation when you're building, right? And so all of these things, most of these things, at least that you're talking about right now, this, especially the early to mid part of the process, a lot of it is that foundational work, just making sure that you are on a firm place before you build up.
Yes. And you can do it. Testimony culture, right? There are many people who are in your exact situation who have done it, right? You get inspired by that. So testimony culture, you can do it. You absolutely can. Process culture says, and I'm going to celebrate the victories along the way. I'm going to celebrate that today. Instead of being in my feelings for 2 weeks, I was only in my feelings for about 20 minutes.
Yep. That's why
celebrate that.
Your pom-pom. Right? I love your pom-pom. I love it when April breaks out her pom-poms. I'm like, I need pom-poms. I love it. I love a celebration culture. So I'm glad you brought it back around to that, because I think celebration culture is so important, because those of us who are driven, those of us who are focused and are like, all right, I'm going for the thing. And sometimes we forget, like we brush over the small victories. We brush over those things that we're like, no, we have to celebrate this. Yes. This is exciting.
It is. Yeah.
Hey, Julia's here talking to us, y'all. Let's celebrate. This is exciting. I love it. We have Testimony Tuesday in the Armory. And the reason that we have Testimony Tuesday is just so that we don't gloss over. I mean, it's really that. It's like there is a culture here of celebrating what God is doing. And there is nothing that is too small. Like if it excited you, celebrate it.
Yes.
We're here to celebrate with you.
So important. And I love that that's a part of the culture in your community, because it is. It's not just don't wait to. And so for those of you who haven't shared because you're like, well, I don't have anything to share, don't let the big things be the example of what you need to share. Yes. What's that thing that it changed you, right? What are those? I used to do Weight Watchers, and they would talk about non-scale victories. Like, what are those things where technically the scale hasn't moved, but my energy has gone up. I lost an inch in my arms. Yes. Right? Yes. What are those things? Because if you don't count your blessings, you'll begin to assume you don't have any.
Yes.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So I'm not counting these blessings. So God, I don't have any. I'm doing this thing. I didn't even want to do it. I'm just doing it out of obedience to you. And there's nothing to show for it. And so now it's in that spiral. And I just want to encourage you, you really do have something to be grateful for. You really do have something to be grateful for. So.
Yes. And when you're in that space of gratitude, that's actually a different place in your brain. And that place in your brain is the place that allows you to be hopeful, to be creative, to be a visionary. Like that's that gratitude shift brings you back to that space rather than the task oriented, got to get it done. If you stay there for too long without celebrating, then you end up in that downward spiral. And
Yep.
nobody wants that. We're going on an upward spiral. Upward spiral. Thank you, Julia. I'm going to share how to get in touch with Julia here. So here's how to connect with Julia. theapostolicceo.com. Go there. And what happens when they go there, Julia?
Yeah, well, I will tell you what happens when you go there. So that is my free community. So, like I said, I deal with a lot of people who are trailblazers, who are builders, who are pioneers. And so I talk about the God's development process for you. So as you are a leader, and my lane is business. And so as the CEO of your business, you are being built even as you're building. You are being built even as you're building. And so when you go to apostolicceo.com, you'll get on my email list, and then we'll also send you a free 4-part video series that has the 4 parts of the kingdom leadership development model, right? These are the ways that God is developing you to take the territory that you're called to take, so that you are ready. You don't want to be a flash in the pan. You want to be around for generations, or the things that you produce. Legacy is important to you. So if legacy is important to you, then foundation has to be poured. And so a lot of people, when they get that 4-part series, they're like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. It makes sense why things are breaking down, and you don't know why the things that you used to do aren't working. Right. We talk about that in that video series. And so then you'll be invited into our Facebook community, where I'm going live in there. I'm sharing some content. I'm in there every Tuesday. It's Let's Talk Tuesday. I'm just sharing what God has on my heart to share with the apostolic CEOs. And then we have interviews in that community. So again, we're just kind of gathering folks together. So that's what happens. If you want to get in contact with me and want to know like what's new, what's coming with Julia, www.theapostolicceo.com is where.
Yes. And I have watched the videos. They are fantastic. I related to all the things. I was like, oh, yes, check. And I highly encourage, especially, those of you who are just starting out are going to get something from this. Those of you who have been in it for a while and are like, what happened? Something is off right now. That's like, you for sure need to go there, because that is directly who Julia is talking to. And it's so good. It's a really great group. I'm in it. We get a lot of Julia in that group. Thanks, Julia. So let me share with you again what we have going on here. We have the CoCreate the Workshop coming up this coming week, next week, starting this Monday. So if you have not registered, go register here at intuitivedaughtersofgod.com/join. And sometimes God does give you discounts. This is the discount for this group. Or for anybody who's watching this live, you go to intuitivedaughtersofgod.com/join and enter the code SAVE10, where instead of $44 for the workshop, and you're coming out of this workshop with a launch plan in hand. Okay. So you are actually creating something in CoCreate the Workshop. You are co-creating with God in there. And then you're coming out with something in your hand. So instead of $44, it will be $34 for you using Save 10 there. And registration is open through Monday, but I encourage you not to wait. We're already rolling in the group. We've got stuff going on in there. I'm going to start posting some pre-homework, which will be fun for you to do, I promise. And yeah, come on and join us. So thank you again. Yes, Taffany, I see that. I see you in there. All right. Anybody have any no, we're at time. Okay. So you can't ask Julia anything. No, just kidding. Go to theapostolicceo.com to connect with Julia and to get some trainings of hers that I promise you will really, really benefit from. And thank you so much, Julia, for joining us. I just love you. And I'm so glad that we had the chance to connect in here. I thank you for pouring into these amazing ladies that we have in here.
Yeah. And I just want to, final word, I just want to encourage everyone to sign up for the workshop. Like, recognize the opportunities that you have here. This is, I know Nanette, and I know it's going to be different than any other thing that you've seen. So recognize the opportunity that God has presented and make sure you take advantage of that while there is a discount, because this might not always be her price. Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. That is possibly very true. And so one thing you hit on, and I just want to I just want to say it the way who said it. Okay, so yesterday we had Sandy and April and Christy on, and it was either Sandy or April who used the term non-traditional. They're like, this is going to be a non-traditional approach, and guess what we're focused on? Process. Okay, so this is such a perfect preparation for going into what we're doing, because all of us who are speakers in this have gone through the process and are there to assist and guide you through the process. And so that is the value, and that you're actually going to come out of this with a plan in hand that you're co-creating with God. So thank you again, Julia. You're absolutely amazing. I'm so thankful for you. I love you, friend. All right. Bye, everybody.